believed very confidently that God exists, and I believed very confidently that there was a religion out there, that he wouldn't create us and leave us alone. That there was a religion out there, I just needed to find it. And enough study means I'll find it. So that was my very overconfident attitude. And alhamdulillah for that. You know, sometimes too much confidence is... it doesn't work, but in that case it worked. It was a blessing for me.
But in a way that it was confidence in God, because
yes,
it's knowing that
correct,
he created me.
Correct.
He's not going to leave me astray. You know, he wouldn't have left human beings astray. So that's great. That was a gift.
It
Mashallah.
was. You're right.
Yeah.
It was. That's what it was.
Yeah.
You're right. And so I embarked on what I called my search. And I started reading and studying all these different religions. I thought I'm going to leave no religion unstudied, except for one, which I was certain was not worth reading, which of course I'm sure you've guessed is Islam.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. What do I want to read about Islam for? That's the religion where they cover women in blankets and put them in closets. That's what I used to say. So I did study, and I actually almost became a Buddhist. I was very enthralled with Buddhism. I read a book called Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. It's actually a wonderful book. And I thought, oh, this is a beautiful religion. And the reason I loved it, what I loved about it, was the tazkiyat an-nafs. So the real work that seemed to be taking place on the self. And again, I went to a professor. Like, that was, it was really sort of an academic road for me to a degree. I found a professor who had a Buddhist club at the university. I attended one meeting with them. And I left the meeting with a realization that while the tazkiyat an-nafs was very real, it wasn't for God. It was for the nafs. And in my view, if I'm going to do something for my nafs, why am I going to, like, didn't make sense. Why am I going to purify myself for myself? If I'm not going to purify myself for God, I'll just give myself whatever it wants.
Right.
You know, so I didn't become a Buddhist in that moment, alhamdulillah, and continued on my path. But by December, I was kind of in my impatient I was 18 by now, in my impatient 18-year-old self. I was like, why haven't I found a religion yet? And of course, other people spend a lifetime in these things. But to me, I'm like, 2.5 months? That's ridiculous. What's going on? And so I was really, I don't even know the word. I was in this sort of state of frustration. That's a good word, frustration. And there were different international people on campus. And remember, I said that I was really interested in other worlds and other countries and other cultures. And so there was a young man who was from another country. He was from a Muslim country. Not that I knew that. But we were talking about some intellectual thing. Actually, we were arguing, and I wasn't even like thinking about it. I was thinking about my own religious struggle. So I paused the conversation. I asked him, what religion are you anyway? And he said, in a really funny American accent, oh, I'm Muslim. I'll never forget that funny American accent, because it sounded to me like he was really trying to be, you know, American about this and cool. And I laughed at him. I said, oh, you're one of those people who put women in closets and cover them in blankets. He was really offended. And so the blessing of him being offended was that he now wanted to tell me how he wasn't that kind of person. And that was my first exposure to Islam, actually, this really funny conversation where I was telling someone, you know, you don't know anything. And
if you don't mind me asking, when is this? Like, I'm just trying to
December
put a political
1984.
context here. In the 80s, right?
December 1984.
Wow, okay, yeah.
And that conversation then, I mean, there are more details to the story, but just it turned into me really finding, it turned into a conversation about hijab, because I accused them of being people who put women in closets and cover them with a scarf, a blanket. And so it turned into a conversation about hijab, and I left that conversation knowing nothing about Islam, but thinking that hijab was a really cool idea.